Lay. Sir. Yeah. Yeah.
Kane is in the building, nigga.
Alright, already the show goes on all night. Till the morning we dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the sun? Just remember when it comes up, the show goes on. Alright, already the show goes on all night. Till the morning we dream so long.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Matchup Zone here. After another week hiatus, it's the summer, guys. You're gonna have to bear with us a little bit. But welcome to the show. Hope you guys are doing great out there listening. We have a guest today. Jehyve Floyd played at Holy Cross University, now plays in Greece. And we're going to talk to him a lot today about what he's currently playing in, which is the basketball tournament. Now, the basketball tournament is picked up by ESPN. It's basketball when there's no basketball because training camp and everything. They usually play it in the summer. Now that kind of the NBA is going to be going on around the same time. But there's going to be training camp, so it's not really going to be the same. So it'll be a little different, but it's cool. So we're going to talk to Jehyve today and go through just kind of what goes on. I know that he's quarantined right now there. I told him to hop on in like 5 minutes. So I know he's quarantined in – where the hell is he? Wherever he is. Those are the questions that I
Somewhere
have.
in Greece?
No, he's home. He's like
he's home.
So the basketball tournament is like, and this is my recollection. I'm gonna have to talk to him a little bit because the basketball tournament, when it started, it was just guys getting together their teams of like professional athletes and things like that during the off season. So like a lot of guys who would be home in like June, July would then play in it just because it was a way to stay in shape. And it was basketball when the NBA finals had ended and people were still interested. And to kind of see some of these, like, it's kind of like our show, like kind of seeing where some of these guys ended up and what they're doing, because they're mostly overseas and no one hears about them. And then they come and play in the basketball tournament and suddenly they're kind of like, oh, there we go. There they are. So that's kind of what this whole thing is. So I don't know where he's quarantined. He probably told me. I'm like, was, you know, it was kind of a, scramble. So hopefully we'll be able to get some more answers today. But he is quarantined right now, waiting to play in the basketball tournament.
So when does the tournament start? Because I'm like starving for some type of sports here, man. They keep teasing me on Sports Talk Radio, like, oh, it's gonna happen, and I'm like, is it really? Is it really gonna happen?
I honestly think it starts on Saturday.
Okay.
I did see something that said the basketball tournament starts on Saturday. So I think Saturday on ESPN or ESPN2 or 4, 7, 9, whatever ESPN it's on.
ESPN, the Ocho.
Exactly. There's going to be basketball. So that's what we're looking forward to. So I think that's what we have. So we're going to talk to him and just kind of go through and figure that out. And
it should be a good precursor to like what maybe we can expect.
Yeah.
From some of the NBA, the early season, some of the effects. Like, is this going to work? Yep. Quarantining everyone. Like, I have high hopes. But
that's like one of the questions I have. Like, how is this going to kind of be? Like you said, it's going to be a precursor to the NBA. And like, if this shit works, like, we're good. So it's like I guarantee a lot of NBA teams are going to be watching the basketball tournament and kind of like seeing how it goes.
Well, I feel like it's playing with my emotions. I was so excited about the baseball thing. And then, that news came out that, like, what was it, 5 Phillies players had COVID, and like 3 of the support staff had it. And I was just like, great. And of course, it had to be the Phillies of all teams.
Exactly.
Like, I was getting so geared up to. I was like, all right, I'm going to jump online. I'm going to pick up tickets. I'm going to try and get something. I'm going to, like, I don't care if I have to tailgate in my backyard, and put the TV outside or something, because I'm at that point, Kev, where it's like I'm a baseball guy through and through.
Oh yeah.
And to not have baseball in the summer, it does not feel like summer right now. No. I don't know about you, but it does not feel like summer right now.
No, I agree. I think it's the whole thing's everything's different now.
No, this will be a great summer. A great, at least like an appetizer.
It would be. I'm excited to see what he says and kind of go from there.
Well,
Oh,
he
it's
just
all-
jumped on, so I'm going to
Sweet.
get him in here, brother.
Nice.
And let's see what we get. Jehyve Floyd. All right.
You know what's funny? I just changed my name on the. I just looked down and so it said Mr. Owens as opposed to Kevin
I
Owens.
was like, oh, we got the teacher Owens here.
I was like, I need to fix that right now. All right,
Jehyve,
welcome.
can you hear us all right, brother? There he goes. All right. I think we got a better connection this time, Jehyve. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I had to use my phone. The hotel Wi-Fi is not pretty good.
I was going to say, it's a billion times better. Whatever you just did, stick to that, you know. So I think we're good now, brother. So let's go back to the beginning of this interview, Kev, man. Let's start from the top.
Let's start from the top.
All right.
No, that's cool. So yeah, like the whole entire thing, the biggest thing that kind of I think the people want to know. We talked a little bit about, you know, the tournament and what it's going to represent in terms of like how all the NBA players are going to see the bubble that you guys have created. First off, how long have you been in? Where are you actually located right now?
I'm in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
We're at the Hyatt Regency, right down the street from the Nationwide Arena where we're playing.
Okay, so all the games take place in the same arena. You guys are all. How long have you been quarantined there?
I was quarantined for the first 24 hours on Tuesday. Then I got my first negative results. So now we're in the hotel, but we get to like go to practice with our teammates and interact with our teammates.
That's awesome. And kind of the tournament. How did you get involved with the tournament in the first? Like, how did you get involved with the guys on the team? How did you get involved with the basketball tournament?
It was through a mutual friend. I had a manager who he was a manager from my high school team. He was friends with one of the players, Vito Brown, and they were looking for a big, and he offered them me and showed them my film, and then they were on board with it.
That's awesome. So you know, you guys start on Saturday. It should be a pretty fun thing. I think that, you know, John, our producer, he said he's doing the same thing. I think I'm doing the same thing. You know, everyone's itching for basketball. So I think the ratings for this are going to be so big because, you know, usually it's like the NBA finals have just ended. So people are kind of like, oh, cool, basketball. Like, but now it's like, this is like a precursor to what's going to happen in late July. So I think the ratings are going to be through the roof, which is really cool for, you know, you guys to all be able to play in front of the, you know, and obviously, and there's no crowds or anything like that, right?
No, I don't think so. And we're the first game too, so it would be
Nice.
definitely fun to get out there first and be the first basketball since March, I think.
So you kind of going back into your backstory, because you and I are very similar in terms of, you know, I think you were the same as me. Like when you got into high school, you were probably like 6 foot, 6'1". You were, you know, a little smaller, and then you started
5'8".
growing.
Yeah.
How tall were you when you started high school?
I was 5'8".
That's crazy. That's unbelievable. Because I was 6'1" probably my sophomore year in high school, and then I shot up to like 6'10", like over a year and a half. So it was like real, you know, there's real awkward times that I went through trying to get
crazy.
Yeah. How did you like feel with that? Like just kind of like this crazy growth spurts.
It actually it happened out of nowhere. And when I was growing, I was also skinny, so it was hard for me to like play basketball because I was so frail. And I think a couple of times I would like literally faint because of how like underweight I was.
Yeah. I feel like the same thing. I was 6'10", and I weighed 195 pounds. That was ridiculous. And, you know, I feel like I bulked up, and now like I kind of became, when I started playing, I became like more of a bully. But when I was like skinny, like I was just like getting thrown around. They would just throw football players on me and be like, yo, go throw this kid all around. I'm like, shit. Like every single time.
Same, literally same. And the crazy thing is I got bigger, but I would still have the skinny boy mentality, and I had to get that in college.
I had the same exact problem. It's like such a crazy, because how are you supposed to change your entire mentality?
Right.
Like, and everyone's like, go right through him, and you're like, no, I'm going around him. He's gonna punch me in my head.
I still struggle with it sometimes. I forget how strong I am now. Like I probably from I think I went to college like 185 and left like 240.
That's
And I
awesome.
just didn't know how like strong I was until I got a certain plays. I'm like, okay, I'm like surprising myself. Like it was like, still am, to be honest.
That's awesome. So you kind of, take us through you obviously a huge star at Holy Cross, very, very successful there, really, became like a very big prominent player at Holy Cross. And then you were able to take your talents overseas. You've played in a little bit in Germany and Greece. Kind of take us through that experience of like, how did you go from college? Because I think the biggest question that I always get asked, and a lot of guys that play overseas get asked, how do you go from college to playing professional? I think that's like something that a lot of people are like, well, I can play professionally. I'm like, well, there's a whole process. So take us through your process.
I mean, graduating from Holy Cross, like you said, I had a pretty good career my last 2 years. So it's like going up pro, you're going back to square one. And I think the learning curve was pretty big for me because I played the Princeton offense in college. So I had to like adapt to a whole different system.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, I played in Germany for a little bit, but it didn't work out there because I just wasn't like, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't ready. So it took me a while to like prepare and get ready. I feel like the first 6 games in Greece, like I was still getting my feet wet, and then finally I started to adapt and be effective out there.
That's great. It's crazy because we like kind of met through a mutual, Bill Hortz, who I went to college with, and I think you met him like on the beach. Is that where
Yeah,
you
I
met
met
him?
him on the beach. I met him on the beach.
And he's like, he gave me the information, and it's crazy because I feel like our stories are very similar. Just kind of talking about that because I went to Monmouth University and the same thing. Like, you were Carmody. Was he the coach? Is he the
Coach Carmen.
so
He's not
Carmody?
coaching anymore.
Well, I know like he was the Princeton offense, and like we had one of his assistants who then came onto the Monmouth staff, and like so we ran the whole Princeton offense, and I found it very difficult. Like I went and played in the D League, and it was like I was so team oriented. Like I want to play, I want to be on a team. I wasn't the guy who's like, I'm going to go out and score 40 points. I was the guy who's like, let's win as a team. And then you're kind of like overseas and they're like, you need to score 40 points. I'm like, oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's why I didn't work out in Germany. He's like, I need you to have an ego. And I'm just so like want to pass, want to like, get my teammates involved. And it just didn't work out. So I use that as a chip on my shoulder now. Like, I have to like make people feel me have that mentality, that dog mentality to like go out there and like now it's not college anymore, it's the pros. Like you have to actually do like you're like playing for like money now. So
yeah. So kind of any crazy experiences that you've had overseas? I know overseas it's like, we always talk about that. It's like it's the best experience, but it's like there's some crazy stuff that happens that even like NBA players you talk to, they're like, what? Wait, what happened? Have you had any? I mean, especially playing in Greece, I know the Greece, that Balkan Peninsula, the fans and stuff like that are kind of crazy. Any crazy experiences that you've had?
I mean, I've seen a lot my first year, I swear.
Yeah,
I think
don't hold back. We want to hear the good stories. This is my favorite
getting,
question, Jehyve.
getting cut in Germany was, I'm like, it was terrible. I don't know, like afterwards, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna do this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm good enough. So even in Greece, I had another chance to prove myself, and they were almost gonna cut me, but the coach got fired, and then the new coach came in and was like, why are you gonna cut this guy? This guy's athletic, like. I can use him. So that's who really like put me on. But I've seen so many from the beginning of Greece, I've seen like probably 4 or 5 guys get cut. And I've seen the worst cut ever. Like we just finished the game down. We lost by like 30. We just brought a new player. We don't know who's getting cut. So the coach is livid because we just lost by 30 in the locker room after the game. Had us in there for 2 hours. And he goes on to say, like, points to one of my teammates and said, yeah, you were worried about getting cut? Well, you're cut, like in front of the whole team. Didn't give him no warning or anything. So I've seen that.
That's
I've seen,
crazy.
yeah,
it's so cold.
Like fan-wise, like I've seen like the same coach get spit at by the Greek people, like walking into the locker room at halftime. Like Like Greece, it can get rowdy out there for sure. Like it was a good experience, but I've seen so much now. I feel like a vet now, like just from
Yeah.
1 year. So I
That's
think
all.
that's the craziest thing is seeing people just get cut. Like it's so cutthroat out there. It's
Mhm.
like I wasn't used to that in college. You have 4 years to play, so you're not even worried about like losing your scholarship or anything like that.
Yeah, it is. Overseas it's like the wild wild west. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of rules that don't apply that we kind of like you said in college and like even just watching NBA contracts. How many guys like looked at a thing the other day and it's like Mozgov and there's like four other guys like Chandler Parsons and you're like even the Bobby Bonilla thing that comes up every year with the Mets. You're like you're guaranteed money and then you go over there and it's just like here's you sign a contract and they're like nope like see ya and you're like what just happened.
We were paid in cash too, so
Yeah,
that was another story. Like walking around with like lots of cash in your pocket, like it's not safe. Like like that's not stuff we do in the States. So it's like it's so unpredictable. Like you said, like overseas is definitely the wild wild west.
did you have to go did you like get a bank account like everything over there and just start like I remember a situation I had to kind of go get my money and go right to the bank because I was scared to lose it and I know other guys who were just like nope I'm not putting it in a bank I'm putting it like in my pillow and you're like oh my god dude like this is not the safest situation. Everyone knows who you are and they know where you live. Like
It's a matter of time. They're just gonna be like, we're gonna Venmo you your salary tonight. Like,
yeah,
just,
seriously.
so what's your Venmo? It's gonna happen.
That's what. Yeah.
After a loss, like the whole like management is shaking up. Like they're just so shaky about losses. But when you win, they're like dap you up with your payment in your hand. Like it's so opposite. Like especially playing one game a week too. Like you have the whole week to like dread through that loss and try to like get to the other one. Luckily this year I'll be playing 2 games a week. So
nice. I was going to say, that even the season, the grind of the season, a lot of people look at it and they're like, oh, well, you guys only play 1 game a week, but they don't realize that 1 game a week, that what comes between there is something that we haven't really experienced in America. Like the practices are intense.
Crazy.
You're doing 2-a-days. Were you doing like 2-a-days and stuff?
Yeah, I mean in the middle of the season, yeah, but towards the end, he would cut us some slack because we had some vets on the team.
Nice. So what guys did you end up playing against that you were kind of like holy shit when you kind of got overseas? Were there guys that you were kind of like you're like oh I know who that is?
I mean we played Panathinaikos, so we played Jimmer Fredette, we played Nick Lucas, Deshaun Thomas, Wesley Johnson. So those guys are like I was like dang. I mean I don't know them personally, but I know of them, so it was good to play against like guys like that. But I'm like I said, I'm new to like the basketball world, so I don't really know too many people. I knew my teammates. I got to play with Brandon Rush. He played for the Golden State Warriors. Billy Garrett. He played for the Knicks for a little bit. So I got to meet a couple guys that I still talk to today.
That's awesome. So kind of take us through like a typical day overseas. Like for people who don't really know, like what do you kind of like on a practice day and then take us through like a day on the game day?
Practice day, probably have a practice in the morning, 10 a.m. Lift after. Then you have free time. Come back to you. I'll just come back to my apartment, eat lunch, chill for a little bit, rest the body, and then we're going back at like 5 for practice, and then we got the rest of the day for ourselves. For game day, we'll have a shoot around in the morning, 11 o'clock around then, depending on the time of the game. We would always eat together. The pregame meals are weird over there. We would eat spaghetti and eggs. I'd have never had that combination before. But yeah, we'll come back at like an hour and 30 minutes before the game, and then get right to it. But it's pretty simple. We have a lot of free time overseas. I don't think people understand that. Like most hours you're gonna like have is like four hours of work, so it's not that bad. But it is intense, like you said. Like it can get pretty rough towards the end of the season.
Yeah. So kind of you've been before the basketball tournament and you were in quarantine. Was your season ended early in Greece? So you had to kind of like, what was that situation like? Because you were playing at the time when all this kind of started and borders started closing and things like that. Kind of take us through that experience.
Yeah, so we ended our season in March. It started with like the NBA. Once the NBA canceled, we knew like, all right, we might be going home. But overseas, like they were trying to find ways to go around it so they can get their money.
They were.
So it took us a couple of days. We were in quarantine for like 4 days, but our coach was like still trying to make us practice, and we were like, why? Like we're probably gonna go home. And he's like, you don't know yet. Like we still need to get ready for the next game. Like crazy. So we were there for like 4 days, got to leave, was in quarantine. Like for me, like I'm like coming from college, so coming in March, like you're pretty much done. Like like
Yeah.
so your body and the mind is just like wandering. So it was actually for me, it was like a good thing. Good thing Corona happened. So I was happy about going home, going back to my family. I was getting a little homesick, but being in quarantine I was good for like a month, but like after that, I was like, I'm ready to get back on the court.
Exactly.
So before that, I really couldn't find a court or whatever like that, and then I was able to go to Myrtle Beach and work out, and then I got in touch with the Big X guys, and I was like, it's gonna be a good time for exposure for me because I was looking forward to summer league, but that got canceled.
Yeah, that's crazy. And now that you're all set for next year, to go back over to Greece, have you heard anything? Have you heard like, when they want you to come over, have you heard anything from them, or are they everything's still up in the air according to that?
I think it's still up in the air in terms of like a certain date they want all players, but I think I'm gonna go up there early, just to get like acclimated with the new team and just be able to work out and prepare for training camp and stuff like that. So I might leave like the second week of August. I think towards whatever happens like with the TBT, then I'll like start planning out for that.
That's crazy. It's this whole thing is just nuts. And, especially like I'm retired. So my quarantine has been like chasing children around. Like that's like, it's like a completely different experience, but I couldn't imagine, like the whole entire thought process of like, oh shit, like I'm playing next year. Like I need to keep going, but like, you're just like, I can't play anywhere. Like I know the park down the road from me, they like actually put wood boards over the rims, so you couldn't shoot. So like even if I wanted to take my daughter out and shoot, like it wasn't happening. Like so it's very crazy to like kind of get in the mind of someone who's just like, I need to get out there and play.
It was crazy because I found a park down the street and I was getting up shots. I don't want to the concrete hurts the knees, so I didn't want to take years off my career. So I was going light out there, and I would ride my bikes for like 10 miles just to try to like stay in shape. But like I was running hills, but like that's different from basketball shape.
Mm-hmm.
Like once you get on the basketball court, like it's a different type of conditioning. Like it's the whole body conditioning. So I mean, it helps like to stay in like some type of shape, but it was definitely tough. Cause like especially when I didn't have a contract, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm working towards. I don't know like what's going on next year. But once I signed, I'm like, okay, I got like some type of certainty.
That's great. That's great. This is like I love this because, I feel like the interviews that I've talked to guys before, a lot of them are like guys I played with. So like either they're at the end of their careers or they're, retired like I am. It's really cool to kind of get a perspective of, a younger player who's still playing, who's like dealing with this because, I mean, this will be your second year, right? Like coming up.
Yeah.
So being so young and like being thrown into this, it's like interesting to see how the mindset is of someone so young whose career's just starting. Like I couldn't imagine dealing with this along with all the other bullshit that you deal with overseas basketball. Like, oh, by the way, here's quarantine. You're like, what is happening right now?
I mean, I'm used to the quarantine because like overseas, I didn't really do much. I wasn't really out and about. I was trying to save my money. Good thing I saved my money because I was good for COVID. Like everything happens for a reason. Like I wasn't out there just spending my money. So I was able to be good for the summer. So I was quarantining before we started quarantining. So I was good with like being in the apartment and just finding things to do. I read a lot and just just chill. Like, so I'm not. It didn't really phase me. I just wanted some type of certainty. I think that's the thing for me. So I was able to sign a contract early, and have my future taken care of.
That's awesome. Kind of, have you had any, going to Holy Cross, and have any guys who were younger than you tried to kind of jump into the overseas game this year? Have they ever asked you for advice? Have you ever been asked for advice by anyone who's younger than you, who's kind of seen you play and been like, how did you do this? Have you had to give that advice yet, or are you still like, it's still getting there?
A couple people. I know. Like one guy. He's from Switzerland, so he knows the market over there. He played at Holy Cross, so he signed to a team over there. We talked a little bit. I told him how it is over here, but he had a good feel for how overseas basketball is. But for Lauren Manna, she's like a women's player. She got drafted by the Aces, I think.
Okay.
The Aces. So we talked a little bit, and I told her how lonely it can get, like just getting her prepared for it, just mentally. Well, yes, I give her advice here and there, just because like I know it's hard, especially your first year. You don't like when you're looking for a contract, it's stressful. Like that period of time, like you're like waiting and waiting. You're working, but you're waiting. Yep. So I'm just trying to like give her some hope, and like I know you're gonna get a contract. You just gotta wait on it, keep working.
Well, this has been incredible. Like, it's been great to talk to you. We definitely have to stay in touch, because this is like, I feel like I want to follow your career. I want to see, like I'm excited to watch on Saturday now, and all, the people who listen to this podcast. What time was your game on Saturday?
3 p.m.
3 p.m.
Awesome.
Everyone check it out. The basketball tournament. What your team is? The 20s?
The Big X.
The Big X. Jesus Christ. What the hell, man? The Big X. So the Big X. So check them out. It was incredible talking to you, kind of catching up and talking basketball. We'll have to have back on in the future to kind of go back.
It'd be
on
interesting, Kevin, if we're doing like another like month or so, like after you start playing, to get you like, all right, now what's going on with this COVID stuff? How's it developing? Because it's cool to like talk about what we think is going to happen, but then to talk to someone who's like in the trenches actually doing it.
All about predictions here.
Yeah. Who knows? Like we were talking about that before you jumped on, Jehyve. Like who knows what's going to happen with all this stuff?
Yeah.
But hey, Jehyve, before we like lose you or whatever, I want to make sure you send to either Kevin or myself. Make sure we get any of your Instagram pages or highlight reels, any of that stuff. Make sure you send that to us, and we will make sure that ends up linked onto the video that we're going to make when we put it up on YouTube. Okay.
Got you.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Best of luck this weekend, and we'll be following and stay in touch.
For sure. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks. That was incredible. So, talking a little bit, that was a cool. I just like the young players' perspective, and I feel like we haven't had that. And I feel like there's a few young players that we're going to talk to coming up that I have kind of like, waiting to talk to. It's crazy doing this show and just like living a life too. Like I told you last week, I was trying to get everything done with my book, and I like sent my book out, and then I'm trying to like, going to the whole entire, like now I'm into like the, like, literary agents and like, I was
going to say, you got to give us an update. What's going on with the book? Do you have like a release date or whatever?
So, no, because right now the literary, I'm trying to get that whole structure done. There's some things that I'm thinking about too, that I've like talked to, about how, especially like I wrote a chapter on Korea, and I told the truth. I said, this is what the fuck happened there. Like, this is what happened. And I told like exactly what happened, including like emails that they sent me. I included that because they screwed me over big time. And when, I got people feedback, there was like, there was a lot of like, now, okay, we got to talk to the law department. We have to talk to the lawyers just to make sure that when we publish this, that they're not going to come back and sue us. And I'm like, well, all I did was tell the truth. Like there's no bullshit in it.
We can't let you get censored, Kevin Owens. We can't let you get censored, man.
I know. Well, what's crazy? It's crazy because I tried to sue them for like all their bullshit that they did, and like they're like, it's not going to work in Korean court. So I was like, all right, fuck it. Like I guess I'm out $100 and something grand, and now Like the thought that I could put a book out and they could sue the publishing company is like the biggest joke because it's like the KBL in general. So I was like pissed because I was like, dude, like no, fuck them, because they're like dickheads and they refuse to get like, you know, they're like sitting there greasing the wheel over like a little bit of money to them, and I'm like, you're. So the fact that they're like, well, let's try, I'm like, nah, fuck that. Like, we need to get this book out, and they need to know exactly what's going on. So that was kind of like what I was dealing with.
Wow.
So I've been doing that. It's a little crazy, but I'm excited. I'm excited. So and like in the meantime, I'm like getting a lot of people, and this is the cool thing about the show, is I feel like there's a lot of people who are now like, hey, we want to come on the show. Like, and I'm like, oh, shit. Like, so I'm getting, like, usually I was the one like reaching out to my friends and stuff and be like, come on the show. Now I'm getting like,
we had like two people lined up for this spot, and then like we lost them, and then we got another one. It was like, yeah, I want in.
It's crazy, and I was like, oh shit, like, and so it was a little nuts how like we went from me trying to get people on, and now it's like, and now like people are writing us and being like, hey, can I hop in your show and tell my story? So hopefully that's like a sign of things to come, because that'll be awesome.
I dig it, man. I dig it. We'll keep pushing it.
Cool. But yeah, that was awesome. I enjoyed that interview, and that was cool.
Yeah, man.
You rock.
Next week or tomorrow, maybe even we'll get another one out. So
that's what So we talked about doing a mailbag. You saw the text.
Yeah, I did see that. I came back and I was like, oh wait, okay, no, we're doing this. All right, we're doing that. Okay.
So because we had a guest scheduled, and then Jehyve, like, he was kind of like, hey, I can do it tonight. And I was like, oh shit. And this is just after the other guest was like, oh shit, I had like an issue. Can we do it next week? And I was like, yeah. So then I was just like, I threw the idea to John. So we were like scrambling, but luckily we were able to get it in. But yeah, we could do that show, because I think Dion wants to do it next Tuesday, so we can kind of, you know, go from there and figure it out. But yeah, that will be. So we'll figure out some fun things to do, kind of, you know, with the fans, and interact a little bit with you know, the lives and things like that.
We can also talk about, I mean, now that stuff's opening up outdoors, I don't know how you feel about this, but we could do last time we did Notting Head.
Oh yeah,
that was so much fun. I don't know if they have an outdoor area, but like if people are doing stuff,
we
can socially distance and do like a on-site thing, man. We'll make that
I like that. Like that's like the cool thing, just sitting and talking, and just trying to get exposure for the podcast too, because I think that's like the cool thing. We'd like changed our format, so like we were just talking bullshitting all sports, and now I like it where it's just like focused on overseas basketball, because I think that's like a niche. So it's cool if people want to talk basketball and stuff. So we'll have to try to set that up. We'll get on it.
As the sport comes back, I think people are going to be a little bit more hungry for it. You know, there's going to be a lot more to talk about. So
quarantine podcast, everyone. Enjoy your quarantine podcast.
Hey, man, we learned a lot during this quarantine.
We did.
We went from having like we couldn't even hear you, I think, in our first podcast together.
Yeah.
And now we got. I noticed you were on Instagram broadcasting. I was on Facebook. We're broadcasting. Plus on Blog Talk Radio broadcasting. Plus we make the video and get that out on YouTube. What's that? 4 separate streams, man. That's it's
crazy. And
that's high class.
We're helping our guests figure out their tech issues. I'm like, this shit's crazy. So we're really getting there. The show's come a long way in the quarantine. I feel like, you know, this shit keeps going. We're going to be like first take here in a few minutes.
I dig it. We might be able to, you know, like afford like a Happy Meal or something once a week, you know, once we get
Listen, we can only hope. And yeah, like, so we were talking about this. Were we live on the show yet? I don't know if we were live on the show when I was talking about, like, you were just like, oh, you're just not, you're rocking the. No,
I don't think we were live on the show. Yeah, we need to bring everyone's attention to Mr. Owens' arms over there.
Yeah, so I'm doing a big thing now where I'm trying to I'm not wearing sleeves all summer. Like, that's not going to happen because there's nowhere to go. And I'm getting very hot very easily. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to wear sleeves. Like, I have like a variety of wrestling shirts. So my wardrobe is going to consist of mainly wrestling shirts, wrestling tank tops. And like, that's what it's going to be. So if you ever see me in sleeves, know that like something is fucking horribly wrong.
That's like when you hang the flag upside down to show distress. We know that like you're under duress if you're on the show in sleeves.
Like why?
like
even if you see me in the street and just be like, why are you wearing sleeves?
Kevin,
I'd be like,
okay?
oh my God,
Come on.
sorry.
It's okay. You can tell me what's really going on.
What's happening with why are you wearing
signal
sleeves?
to everyone.
Yeah, why are you so sweaty right now? It's disgusting and sweaty. That's why I don't wear sleeves.
That's
Good
what it's
times.
gonna be like for the next month or so and a half. That's why I said everyone's out. Like they stopped the indoor dining, right? And I was like, who's gonna want to eat outdoors in 95-degree weather in another week?
It's ridiculous.
I'm like, I feel so bad for the restaurants and whatnot, like that are going through that, and I'm just like, oh man, like I'm not going outside. I'm not eating outside. Like when it's like 80 degrees, that's one thing. When it's 95 degrees, how can you even enjoy that?
You don't. That's why you can't wear sleeves.
Exactly.
Like, and that's what I saw something that it was like a waiter was taking an order. He was wearing like the mask over his mouth, like the face shield, like rubber gloves, and like a whole entire like apparatus over his body, like he was like in a hazmat suit pretty much, and like taking an order. And it was like the meme was like, if you're like this, like hell bent on going out for food, like just keep your ass home and cook. Like this is what, like, why would you want that? I couldn't imagine my waiter. I'd be like, I don't feel comfortable. But you know,
you feel bad for them. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
It's like you got to be sweating. Like I can't even wear sleeves.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, I refuse to wear sleeves, and you have to wear all this shit.
The hazmat outfit, man. Yeah. Listen, I don't know if I can go that way. I've been working out, Kevin. I told you back like before quarantine started, we were supposed to work out together at Echelon Fitness.
Yep.
And I was like, I refuse to come out of this fucking quarantine a fat ass. So I've been doing some stupid stuff. Like you find the stuff online. You know, I got an exercise bike that I'm rolling with. You know, I'm not at Kevin Owens level. You know, I don't know if I can go the sleeveless shirt yet, but it's all about goals, man.
Next summer, neither of us wearing sleeves. No sleeve next summer.
All right, let's make that the goal. Next summer, you got a year to get me at least like in the same ballpark, in the same state. Let's say that.
And then you got to get a bunch of wrestling tank tops too.
Like you and Jehyve are talking about like going through people, and I was like, yeah, it must be nice, guys.
Well, that's what it was. That was like one of my favorite things because it's like. It's crazy how you kind of meet some of these guys and then, you know, like for the first time on the show, and then you're like, holy shit, they're just like me. And that's what I like. Even as the host, I'm just like, holy shit, that's just like me. And that's what I hope our listeners are like, holy shit, like that's just like me too. And like, there's like this connection because I want the guys who listen overseas to play or to listen. I've said that wrong. I want the guys who play overseas to listen. I want the guys, the people who love overseas or just love basketball to listen as well. But like, it's crazy. Like there's a lot of similarities between guys who play this game. And that's like the cool thing is kind of find those guys who are like very similar to you and being like, wow, you know.
Well,
cool.
it's words of wisdom, man. Like, don't you wish you could go back and listen to some of the older players? And like for me, music wise and baseball wise, like, you know, when you're young and you think you fucking know everything, and then you hear people saying, hey, you should do this, you should think about this. And now we're in our 30s and whatnot, you're like, man, I should have listened to that guy.
Exactly.
That guy knew what he was talking about. Mm-hmm. Save your money. Like, Jehyve, I was just like, when he said he was saving his money, I was like, good for you, dude. Like, what, he's got to be like, what, 20, 21?
Yeah, he's young.
And he's saving his money. And, you know, like, he's for COVID, I'm like, God damn, like, I'm 34. And I'm like, all right. We got the bills coming in this month. He's a smart kid. Very smart kid, great basketball player. You know, and those are the guys, you know, I want to see, you know, these young kids who play overseas to really be successful and to kind of, you know, keep leaving their mark on overseas basketball. And like, especially in, you know, as Americans to keep leaving their mark because it's always going to be a market. It's always going to be there. So we're excited for him and we're excited for our guests to come on and for the guests who are coming up. We're excited as well. So, good times. John, we good? Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right, sweet. So Matchup Zone, again, like to thank DJ John Hunt producing. Check him out if you need DJ, and John's doing like Zoom shit and stuff. So if you currently reside in Poland if you can get a translator, hit up John because he'll Zoom DJ the shit out of your Polish party. It will be awesome.
Whatever we got, I'm starting to get those phone calls for live events outside too. So anyone who's looking to have a live event outside, graduations, whatever it is, let me know. Kev, I did this thing, and I'll talk to you about it, but it was like, it was very similar to one of our last guests where it was like pop-up phys ed classes.
Oh, wow.
Like the guy's like a phys ed teacher, but he's looking at family health. And we did this thing on Sunday where he basically took over a corporate parking lot and had like street hockey and games. And I was there DJing, and I was talking to him because he's trying to grow this business. And we're talking about getting food trucks involved and stuff like that. So, it might be something we could talk to him eventually, maybe even do a sponsorship or some type of partnership or even online stuff as my little guy jumps in the frame here.
That was awesome. That's just like the greatest video I've ever seen. I was like, I slowly saw it coming.
Here they both come. They're ready to go.
Awesome.
All right, brother.
All right, you guys rock. Matchup Zone. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll talk to you guys next time. Until then, see ya.
Who else really tryna with Hollywood Code? I'm with Marley G, bro, flying Holly Grove chicks to my Hollywood shows. And I wanna tell you something that you probably should know. This that Slumdog Millionaire Bollywood flow. And my real friends never hearing from me. Fake friends write the wrong answers on the mirror for me. That's why I pick and choose. I don't get you confused. I got a small circle. I'm not with different crews. We walk the same path, but got on different shoes. Live in the same building, but we got different views. I got a couple cars I never get to use. Don't like my women single. I like my chicks in twos. And these days, all the girls is down the road. I hit the strip club and all them bitches find a pole. Plus I've been sipping, so this shit is moving kinda slow. Just tell my girl to tell a friend that it's time to go. Now tell me how